Good evening. How are you tonight? I need to check my settings because I have been messing with stuff. How are you? I feel like I've gotten pretty close to the look that I want. It feels good. It's been years. Slow and steady pace. But you probably didn't come here for perfection in camera stuff. You came here for real estate news, real estate observations, real estate opinions. You found the Deerwood Realty livestream. I'm John Schenk. I'm the founder and managing broker of Deerwood Realty in St. Louis, Missouri. We're a small residential real estate firm. We help buyers buy homes and sellers. So there's tonight, after I show homes, if I'm lucky, we do the Deerwood Realty live stream. Now tonight, it's 10:52 Central Time. I normally start the show at 9, but I was showing houses tonight. I showed a house. Then I went to dinner, and by that time, I messed with the camera a little bit. Anyway, this is what I'm on. Now, do I expect there to be 1 million people on tonight? No, because it's late. You're already past, well, you're getting up to midnight in the East Coast, and, you know, it just gets worse as we go through the United States. I think we have a good show, but I think it's going to be a quick show because I don't think I'm going to be able to, I mean, I've been at it this week. Like, I'm even impressed with myself. I have not given this much effort to much anything in years. So we got a good show tonight, though. We're going to talk about, well, I showed I showed a house, so we might as well talk about that. We're going to talk, we saw some tweets. There's a lot of talk about the dollar, and I wanted to go over some stuff that was different in the opinion than yesterday, just to get a well-rounded view. And then we got some articles that I thought were kind of interesting. We're going to talk about property taxes being higher, surprisingly. We're going to talk about home sellers deciding not to list this spring. That would not be good. And then realtors think that staging a home for sale reduces the time on market. But not even, I'm not going to tell you how many percentage, but I was surprised. So we're going to do all that. I think we're going to get to it. Like I said, I'm tired. I might only have a half-hour show tonight, and we'll just have to deal with it, okay? Let me just say hello to everybody in the chat. I say that. Now, there's nobody in the chat right now, but there we go. Okay. Oh, and if you're watching on the Deerwood Realty and Friends podcast page, you're watching last night's broadcast because I didn't get a chance to switch it over to tonight's. I'm sorry. One thing I did want to mention was Rumble. I believe we're at 21 followers. I need to be at 25 to stream. Man, it would be nice to stream at Rumble. I don't know if I'm allowed to stream like I am at YouTube, and there is an issue of doubling on the streams. So, like, basically, I'd have a stream and it would be on there, and then the recording would come up the next day, or it would just stay there. I'm not exactly sure how that works with the syndication. I know that when I was on Odyssey, they do syndicate all of my stuff except for my streams, and since I do mostly streams anymore, it's kind of problematic. But I am on Odyssey now. In fact, I'm going to go look real quick because I haven't checked in a while, and I wanted to just see if I'm doing well over there. So the Deerwood Realty and Friends has 1 follower, which is me. I know who that is. But then Deerwood Realty has 0 followers, but it says it's the most supported. The last update was 11 days ago? No, that's not right. Why is this up here? I'm not sure. Anyway, everything's doing well over there. But I mean, I get no showings on like Odyssey is just like, it's just bad. No complaints. Just putting it out there. All right. Let's get back to the show. Sorry. Anyway, I want to stream on Rumble. I'm 4 people away, 4 followers away. So let's see if we can close that gap in the next couple of days. So tonight, I had some buyers. They've been with me since before the pandemic. That's right. And their wants and needs have changed over that time. And that's okay. I don't mind showing them houses. They're very polite. And I mean, they don't waste my time. If they saw something that they would like, they actually spend a lot of time looking at stuff online and not even bothering calling me because they figure out one way or another that they don't like it. But tonight they liked a house. The house was, let me just see, in 2000, here's the real estate bubble in a nutshell. House was purchased in 2018 for $85,000. That's not so bad. In 2019, they flipped it for $368,000. You know what it's on the market for right now? Over $500,000. What did the people do that moved in? Nothing. I mean, this is ridiculous. But so be it, right? So yeah, let's talk about it. So I'm not upset with anybody in this process, okay? I know what's going on. It's just kind of frustrating to me. When they did the fix and flip, okay, they did a fantastic job. They did things that people were wanting at the time. For instance, an open kitchen. And actually, when you walk in, you're pretty much greeted by the kitchen and the living room kind of put together. Some people like that. Some people don't. They added on an extra. They added on upstairs. The garage is awesome. It's a great house. The basement's fine. The new owners did put in a sump pump system, it looks like. But great house and, no complaints. But what do you do when your house is like a nice house, but the houses around it aren't even close to being as nice? There is a real estate theory about like your house is worth something similar to your neighbor's house as long as it's in the same style. But this is getting to the point where it's not even in the same style. But yeah, walking through it, just a great house. Now I couldn't tell if it was staged, and that was strange. I don't think it was because I saw a lot of personal items, but I don't think they're living there either. So, and it was awful perfect. The house was awful perfect for somebody to live there. So, but let's talk about some things that I thought were unforced errors. Okay, I'm going to give you 2. They want a premium for this house. They want as much as they can get for this house, and they've made an effort with their staging. Even if it's their stuff, which, it could be, they want over $500,000 for their house. Okay. Now, if you want that number one valuation, okay, there's some things I think you should pay attention to. And let me just go over them with you so that you know. One, when we were upstairs, there's a shower door, and the shower door was loose, like the handle. That to me is an unforced error. How much time would it have taken for you to just tighten that up before people start walking through your house? Another error was in the garage. The door to the garage is pretty much jammed, so you can't get it closed. These are things that a simple handyman could have fixed, easily before you listed it, and you wouldn't have had any issues. Now, you say, John, why do you? Oh, there's one other thing. In the baseboards upstairs, They did cut them at an angle. That's no problem, but they didn't caulk the joint and they didn't paint over it. Now you say, John, you're nitpicking at this. I may be nitpicking at it. I may be, but at the same time, for over $500,000, I would like those things fixed before I walk through. I would like it to be perfect, so that the minute my buyers saw that house, they would put an offer, and we would be able to go from there. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if we're going to write an offer or not right now. I wonder. One of the strange things about this particular home is, if you have pets, and if you like your backyard, you typically want to go to your backyard directly from the back, right? Or if there's like my house is a ranch, and like there's at least a decent enough set aside to the next house where when I go out to the outside, I have like a covered patio. They didn't have that. The door to get outside is on the side, and it's just kind of strange. Imagine walking past your house just to get into your house when you park in the garage. Little stuff. I don't know if the buyers will go for that or not. One of the tricks we're supposed to employ as real estate agents is making sure that our buyers know that we aren't tour guides. And in theory, you're supposed to do something like ask the buyer at the end of every single showing, so will we be writing a contract? Do you see how you move forward there? So will we be writing a contract? So is this the house we're writing a contract on? To me, that's just terrible. A couple of reasons why it's terrible to me. One, if your buyer doesn't tell you automatically that they want to buy the house, really? That's number one. Number two, why force the issue? The idea is so that you don't have to deal with like chronic lookers. But I want somebody to buy a house that they like, and I know that the prices are terrible right now. But I just want somebody to be able to understand that I'm working for them, and that's where I'm at. So that was the showing. It had an automatic front door. Those are starting to become more and more popular. It had a nest. It had another nest or something. I mean, they were watching us the whole time in the house. That's one of the things that didn't used to happen. Now it's just all cameras all the time in every room. So I didn't talk about if we're going to put an offer. I don't know if we're going to put an offer, but I certainly wasn't going to discuss terms on the front porch with my buyers. We'll see what they say tomorrow. I think the house will sell, though. It's a nice enough house that it will sell. Let's move on. So let's go to... I don't like that. I like this one. I didn't even flip through, but this is the Deerwood Realty STL.com homepage, and here's the 30-year fix. 30-year fix was down 2 basis points from yesterday. I'm still a big fan of 5.5% 30-year fix. That would be great. I don't know that we're going to get that. Moving on, here we go. Well, we'll do this differently. Be that way. The cost of home ownership has surged 71% over the past 3 years compared to average annual rent growth of 6.3% over the same period per Bloomberg. Do you believe that? 71% over the past 3 years. Well, I mean, I just showed you 2019 what a house cost for, what a house was purchased for and what it's selling for now. But even average annual rent growth of 6% seems high. No? This is from that fellow who I got to learn his last name. I've actually got a watch because I haven't gotten around to it. Mortgage applications to buy a house up 39% year over year in March. This was the worst March performance since 1995. I graduated college in I graduated high school in 1995. Difficult to see how a recovery in housing is occurring with this data. You know, I remember graduating and the economy being terrible. Just saying. And right now there's lots of spin claiming there's a recovery. Take a look at these news articles from yesterday. CNBC had a fair line, but NAR, Cranes, and Reuters all went with headlines that made it seem like true recovery is taking place. But the true story here, news story here, is just how bad the home buyer demand still is. Trouble is, that's a boring story at this point. News outlets need a way to drive clicks, so they seize upon a small sales gains on a monthly basis to craft a new narrative of recovery. And that's just it. If this is the recovery to what's coming that already came, I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. But nothing has substantially changed about the housing market. Prices and rates are still too high. Buyers can't afford it. Check out Austin, Texas, for instance. Monthly house payment for new buyer of $3,600 compared to $1,800 2 years ago. As a percent of income, it looks even worse. Annual house payments for new buyers in Austin are now 47% of the area's median income. That's way too high. Literally, many people can't qualify for the mortgages needed to buy houses today. Even with 9 months of price declines, affordability isn't even close to returning to same levels, especially in states in red. There are states where the buyers need to pay 40 to 50% of their income to home ownership costs, mortgage, taxes, and insurance. How about California, everyone? The median household income is $88,000. Typical annual house payment for new buyers is $55,000. Meaning a regular California family needs to pay 63% of their income to buy a house. It's not just financially feasible for most Americans to buy a house right now. And until that changes, there'll be no meaningful recovery in the housing market. Both price and rates need to go down by a lot more to restore true affordability. So there, go to the ReVenture app to access the data and the treat for yourself. I do believe house prices have to come down. I do believe that affordability matters. Although, here's one to throw at you. What if the job market is still so tight and the ability to get decent employees is so bad that employers have to start paying more, and that raises the wages. Meanwhile, a recession cools housing prices and brings you lower interest rates. There's your affordability story right there. I don't know if it's a pipe dream or not. We're going to talk about the dollar dominance in two tweets here. I just wanted to. I feel like last night I tried to show you that there was a pretty decent difference of opinion amongst people that seem to be in the know, and now we've got a kind of a different view. It says, lost in the conversation around recent currency and energy news is the question of whether the current system of dollar hegemony is even good for the U.S. The conversations just assume that it is and discuss the risks of losing it. Dollar hegemony increases our import power and decreases our export competitiveness, which feels good but hollows out our industrial base over decades. It's important for D.C. and the military-industrial complex while harming domestic manufacturing. Around the margins, global diversification of central bank reserves and payment rails is bad for the USA, bad for USA the empire, but not bad for USA the country. Or we can just keep doing what we're doing. It's going great. So that's an interesting argument. Increases our import power and decreases our export competitiveness, but which feels good and hollows out our industrial base over decades. So where did our industrial base go? They went to China. Anywhere but the U.S. That's not good. So there's one arguing for more of a parity in world currencies, and then you have Markets and Mayhem, who took a shot at the Genevieve Roche Descher lady from last night. He said they said there's far too much talk around these parts about how the dollar will be vanishing from global trade imminently. But the reality is this is a process that takes decades. First, the greenback makes up nearly 60% of global foreign exchange reserves. That's pretty massive. And so here's, the US dollar and the euro and everything else. It says, in terms of currency composition of global foreign exchange reserves, over time, yes, the dollar has been steadily eroding. Nothing dramatic here, about a drop of 12% over 22 years. No need to panic. Countries can and still do trade outside of the US dollar. As of 2019, the dollar was an extremely popular currency issue foreign debt in. And that remains the case now, which is why the Fed worked with other central banks to open forex swap lines to stabilize exchange rates during times of high demand. When Russia's invasion of Ukraine occurred, we saw a flood into U.S. dollars as they remained seen as the safe haven currency. This is because by buying dollars, one can also buy U.S. government bonds, which are also seen as a safe haven. They caught a bid then as well. The trade-weighted U.S. dollar index also remains quite strong relative to other trading partners' currency exchange rates. That's not suggesting there's some sort of imminent reckoning happening by any stretch of the imagination. Quite the opposite. In fact, U.S. assets are also very popular globally, and foreigners hold a substantial portion of those same assets. That creates demand for the U.S. dollar as well as a much longer unwinding process should it ever be replaced by another currency or mechanism of settlement. While the foreign appetite for U.S. sovereign debt has diminished, it hasn't fallen to a point that warrants concern in the near to immediate term. And with rates having risen significantly, I suspect that appetite may begin to return. Most global exports are invoiced in U.S. dollars outside of Europe. These trade relationships, some of which are countries trading with each other, not the U.S. and U.S. dollars, are not likely to end abruptly. Global claims and liabilities are much more likely to be settled in U.S. dollars than other currencies. Unlabeled charts above and below were sourced from the Federal Reserve. In terms of overall international currency usage, the dollar remains rather robustly in demand, while the euro is second most used in a distant second. The Chinese renminbi is barely visible on the chart. The reality is that more countries want to settle transactions, also want to finance debt using dollars rather than euros, and the difference is rather significant. This all suggests that any unraveling of the dollar would take a very, very long time should it ever happen. In conclusion, the dollar's role as the global reserve currency isn't changing anytime soon. There have been rumors about this situation for over 2 decades now, and we've seen numerous headlines taken out of context to mean things they do not. There's no need to panic about the dollar. I'm concerned about the value of the dollar. I'm concerned when big countries decide that they want to trade with something other than U.S. currencies. I'm going to say that. And I don't like it. It's concerning. ATX Real Estate Podcast, or ATX RE Podcast, according to Texas A&M Records, or research, for every $1,000 increase in the cost of a home, approximate 22,000. Oh man, let's do that again. According to Texas A&M, let me see if I can be more radio-like too. My voice, I haven't been modulating my voice very much, and I feel like that's maybe one of the reasons my follower count is down. According to Texas A&M research, for every $1,000 increase in the cost of a home, approximately 22,000 households are priced out of purchasing that home. A $1,000 price increase equals 20 to 40,000 people that can't afford it. When it comes to affordability, every dollar counts. I'm trying. I got 154 subscribers here on YouTube. Would love to hit 1,000. And if I have to make my voice sound like a swarmy, 90s DJ, I guess so be it. Last tweet of the night I wanted to look into. This is trying to mandate office work ain't gonna work. The budget is a disaster. It says Wall Street needs pact to get new workers in offices, Adams says. Bloomberg, Eric Adams is sick and tired of people not returning to their offices. I'm sorry you have to hear it, but it's just wild. I'm going to actually go back and play them because I never hear my voice on, like when I try to throw it like that. Exasperated, New York's mayor wants J.P. Morgan Chase and Company, Goldman Sachs Group, and other major employers to come together and agree on ways to force more to return to the office as the city's economy struggles to recover from the pandemic and new challenges. I don't know what their new challenges are. All of our corporate leaders need to get in the room and say, let's come up with a minimum, Adams said in an interview with Bloomberg on Thursday, referring to how many days a week employees should be in the office. If it's 4 days a week, it's 4 days a week. And all I have to say to Eric Adams or anybody else that's a politician that was around during the pandemic, piss off. You created this. It was your mess. It suited you politically to do this, and so you did it. And now people don't want to go to work. They don't want to be in offices. They don't want to be in germy, scary places like that. They don't want to be targets for people. So no, don't go to work. Darth Powell writes, and we're deep in office real estate. You need to get in there, not because it's actually needed, but because we're going to lose our asses. That's right. You look at commercial real estate over the past, decades? It's just gone on a rail. Well, it's starting to not make sense to have huge. I mean, I could have gotten an office somewhere, but I mean, at the end of the day, why do I want to work harder to make a little more money so that I can pay the rent? Like, why don't I just give that to myself and not work as hard? I just want to check the time because, like I said, I'm rolling on time. We're 26 minutes in. I think I can get in under 45 minutes. Not that it's a race, but it kind of is because I'm tired. Let's do it. All right, here we go. Did you know, it says, at least CNBC says, more home sellers are sitting out of the spring housing market. All right, well, I'm not going to look at the little headlines because that kind of ruins it. It says, it might seem like a great time to list your home for sale. Buyers are flooding back into the market. Mortgage rates have fallen off their recent highs, and there are still far too homes for sale to meet demand, but potential sellers aren't budgeting. Well, why do you think that is, honestly? I know the answer. Now, the other thing I got to watch here is it says, we have to qualify this. Mortgage rates have fallen off their recent highs, but they're not really compelling to go get a mortgage right now. I wouldn't say that. And I don't know that buyers are flooding back into the market. We just talked about mortgage rates are the lowest, or mortgage applications are the lowest since 1995. So, I mean, I disagree with the premise of the article. To start, the active inventory of homes for sale is, however, well, actually, I don't disagree with the premise. I don't think it's for the reasons they say. The active inventory of homes for sale is, however, 60% higher than the start of last spring. But that's only because homes are taking longer to sell. Inventory is also half of what it was at the start of spring in 2019, before the pandemic caused an unprecedented run on housing. Homes are now sitting on the market an average of 54 days, up from an average of 36 days at the start of last spring. Time on the market was longer in all the top 50 metropolitan markets, but the greatest increases were in Raleigh, North Carolina. Oh, wait a minute. See, it doesn't make any sense. Were Raleigh up 42 days, Kansas City, Missouri up 37 days, and Austin, Texas up 37 days. I don't know. I mean, Kansas City, like for those of you who don't know, I live in St. Louis. Kansas City is like the other big city in Missouri, and it's like way on the west. And the two places couldn't be more different except for their political corruption. Then they're brothers and sisters, like just perfect. But other than that, it's a different vibe. Amid fewer new choices on the market and still rising home prices, home shoppers have shown that they are very rate sensitive, only jumping back in the market when rates dip. And so what happens with rates this spring will likely play a strong role in determining whether the housing market bumps along or picks up speed this year. I would argue that perhaps it's not so much looking at the mortgages themselves, but looking on the affordability level of, can we even buy a house? If, for instance, if our budget is $3,000 a month, I'm just using stupid numbers for fun. If it's $3,000 a month, okay, and mortgage rates drop, and so now all of a sudden the same house you can probably get for like $2,800 a month. I mean, now all of a sudden we can buy a house where we couldn't before. So we're not really watching mortgage rates, we're watching payments. That's just something to think about. Mortgage rates dropped slightly in early March due to the stress on the banking system from bank failures. They are not, wait a minute, what? Mortgage rates dropped slightly in early March due to the stress on the banking system from bank failures. Yes, I'll agree with that. They are now, however, moving higher again, although not as quite as high they were as they fall. The average rate on the 30-year fixed is now 6.61, which, what are we at today? What did I say we were at? 6.59. All right. According to Mortgage News Daily, just about 2 percentage points higher than it was a year ago. Wow, but that's a lot. That's a lot. 2%, that's what it was, 4.61%. Under 5.5%, which is what I told you was the number. At a recent open house in the suburbs of Cleveland, house hunters Vince and Katie Berardi said they were concerned that the market is still overpriced. They're concerned about it. They should be. It is. The sellers of the 3-bedroom home they were touring had just dropped the price from $450 to $350. It already had several offers on it. Well, really? You dropped the price $100,000 and you're surprised you had some offers on it? Several? There's not as much competition as there was, said Katie Berardi, who is pregnant with the couple's second child. But if there's a good one on the market, it's gone within a week. Well, yeah, it's gone within a weekend. It says home prices naturally were still higher to start this year than they were at the start of last year. But they have been falling for the past 7 months, according to S&P Case-Shiller. In January, the last reading on that index, prices were lower in some of the local markets that had previously been among the hottest, like Seattle and San Francisco. Prices are now flat in Phoenix, another market where prices had been surging. But why had they been surging specifically in Phoenix? Who had been operating there? All the easy money was there. Other markets, especially in the South, like Atlanta and Miami, are still seeing big price gains. List prices in March, according to Realtor.com, were down in Austin and Las Vegas, two markets that were particularly popular with transplants in the first years of the pandemic. That really was a fascinating article because they really didn't get into the psychology of why sellers aren't putting their house on the market. And you've watched my show long enough, you know why. Go ahead, put the answer in the comments, put it in the chat. I'm staring at the chat. Oh, wait a minute. I don't have anybody in the chat. Look, it's because of rates, dummy. If you bought a house with a mortgage of 2.5% for a 30-year fixed, you ain't moving. Honestly, like you're better off just staying there forever if you're not anticipating paying off your house. So this was an article, like I would say, happens to me quite often in my career, is I'll read a headline and the article doesn't even have anything to do really with the headline. It's a statement. More home sellers are sitting out of the spring housing market. Okay. And there's more to it that wasn't discussed. This is from RIS Media. I don't know if I'm going to get to see the whole thing or if it's going to flip out. Nearly half of sellers. So anyway, I thought this was kind of fun. 48% of agents say staging a home reduces its time on the market. Really? What? 52% say it doesn't? And then the other thing is I would say price was pretty much 90% the reason why a house stays on the market. So I thought it would be interesting. Let's see what the article says. It says nearly half of sellers' agents reported that staging a home decreased its time on the market, according to a new report by the National Association of Realtors. The National Association of Realtors 2023 profile of home staging. Well, I wonder what they're going to conclusions they're going to come to when it's titled that. Reveals the role home staging plays in the real estate transaction, including the perspective of buyers and sellers agent. The impact on television shows and buyer expectations. The report found that for both buyers and sellers agents, 1 in 5, that's 20%, said home staging increased the offer price by between 1 and 5% compared to similar homes on the market that weren't staged. BS. You're making it up. You have no idea. As days on market has lengthened for home sellers, it's not a surprise to see the return of home staging as a tool to attract potential buyers, says Jessica Lautz, National Association of Realtors Deputy Chief Economist and Vice President of Research. Buyers want to easily envision themselves with a new home, and home staging is a way to showcase the property in its best light. According to the report, 4 out of 5 buyers agents, 81% said staging a home made it easier for a buyer to visualize the property as a future home. That's absolutely true. However, it's so bizarre to me because like the house we were in today, I think it was staged. I think, but I can't tell for sure. And if it wasn't staged, those people live a pretty clean life. That's all I have to say about that. Staging the living room was found to be the most important for buyers, followed by the primary bedroom and the kitchen. Which, by the way, like in St. Louis, if I want to get something staged, they typically only stage one of the rooms, one of the bedrooms, which is weird. Staging the living room was found to be the most important, followed by the primary bedroom and the kitchen. Almost a quarter of sellers' agents said they staged all sellers' homes prior to listing them for sale, while 10% noted they only staged homes that were difficult to sell. I don't know. I once had a home that was difficult to sell. We brought in staging. It cost $5,000 to stage the place. And we got an offer for a pretty good price. Was it worth it? I think so. On that one. Most of the time it's not. When getting ready to list a home for sale, it's vital to complete the necessary prep work to make a favorable and lasting first impression, said NAR president, that's the National Association of Realtors president, Kenny Parcel, a realtor from Spanish Fork, Utah, and broker-owner of Equity Real Estate Utah. Realtors provide valuable guidance on how to best make your home an inviting space that connects with prospective buyers and stands out from the competition. I don't know. I'll tell you what, some people are gifted, like just like in the way they own their home. They can do stuff with their home and like make it look great. And they're just like, I'm not that person. My wife is, but my wife lives with me. And so that's kind of problematic for her as far as staging the home and making it look good. Because I don't know. In addition, the report found that real estate television shows affected buyers' perspectives on homes. According to a majority of realtors, approximately 3 out of 4 respondents said that TV shows which display the buying process impacted their business by setting unrealistic or increased expectations, with more than half of those surveyed reporting that buyers said homes should look like they were staged on TV shows. I would say the HGTV is just an absolute disaster for an actual real estate agent. Nothing on those shows is real. I know this because I'm in the business and I watch this stuff and I'm like, there's no way that happened. In the last 5 years, the report stated that about half the surveyed realtors, like for instance, like Love It or List It, okay, like that goes over like 6 months. You think that they can go to three vacant homes? Or no, that's Chip and Joanna with, I don't even know if they still have their show on. But anyway, it's all staged. Property Brothers, just all staged. Fake. Not fake in the sense that they do it, but it's fake in the sense that it's not like, for instance, like when I show a home, I probably haven't been in the home ahead of time unless I've shown other buyers the home in the days or hours before I showed you the home. Unless it's a very expensive home and you want me to preview the properties before you go. And even if I do, then you better be buying. Better not be wasting my time, because I really don't want to go to a house twice, 3 times with no chance of you buying it. Doesn't make any sense for my life. I like to do things at my house. I like to stream to you. In the last 5 years, the report stated that about half of surveyed realtors said they've seen an increase in the share of buyers who plan to remodel a home. I don't believe that either. A quarter of respondents noted that buyers who plan to remodel will do so within the first 3 months of owning a home. Almost all surveyed said their buyer clients brought family and members who weren't purchasing the home with them while viewing homes. I'm fine with that. Mom and dad want to come along and take a look at the house. Totally good with that. I do have some people that have made major improvements to their home within the first 3 months, but that's not the norm. Key highlights: almost half of sellers' agents reported that home staging decreased a property's time on the market. Impossible to tell. It's a gut feeling. It depends on each house. 20% of both buyers and sellers' agents said that home staging increased the dollar value offered by between 1% and 5% compared to similar homes on the market not staged. Very hard to find similar homes on the market not staged versus staged. I mean, it normally has to do with price. Staging the living room was found to be the most important for buyers, followed by the primary bedroom and kitchen. Well, if the living room is the first room you walk into, then yes. Because most of the time, within like 15 seconds, a buyer has made their decision of whether or not they're interested in writing an offer in the future. This is my data from what I do. Hey, you know those things called property taxes? Guess what happens when home prices go up across the country and shoot up, like what, according to that one place? A lot. 70 some odd percent. Hey, property tax revenues are up. Imagine that. Imagine all the people that are going to get soaked by stupid high rates now. In Missouri, it's every 2 years, or at least in St. Louis, it's every 2 years. So you've yet to see that bill for that stupid house for your neighbor sold for like twice what you paid for yours. Ooh. National Association of Home Builders analysis of the Census Bureau's quarterly state and local tax data shows that $286 billion in taxes were paid by property owners in the fourth quarter of 2022. State and local governments collected $714 billion in property taxes in 2022, $46 billion more than 2021. $46 billion. State and local governments are getting $714 billion, and I've got homeless lining the streets in St. Louis. I can't get off of 55 without seeing 10 homeless people every day. The 6.9% annual increase. By the way, the fire department has 2 brand new fire departments, and they have immaculately beautiful trucks. St. Louis Police Department, their cars are all beautiful. No issues, no scratches, always clean. Taking them to the car wash. You know, it's pretty nice. But what about the homeless? Oh, they're everywhere. It's a shame. It's just a shame. The 6.9% annual increase is the largest since property tax receipts climbed 9.3% in 2009. We'll just wait until 2023. Property taxes accounted for 35% of state and local tax receipts in the 4 quarters ending quarter 4 2022, and a 0.8 percentage point increase over the prior quarter, but down from 36.1% 1 year prior. In terms of the share of total receipts, property taxes were followed by individual income taxes, sales taxes, and corporate taxes. Man, property taxes are more than individual income tax? Wow. Did you know that? Learned something new tonight. The ratio of property tax revenue to total tax revenue from the 4 sources has been below its pre-housing boom average of 37% for the past 4 quarters. Quarterly corporate income tax revenues increased as a share of the total, accounting for 6.9% of state and local tax receipts, up from 6.2%. Year-over-year growth of 4-quarter property tax revenue was the first such increase since the 3rd quarter of 2021. 4-quarter corporate income tax, individual income tax, and sales tax revenue increased 34.2%, 8.6%, and 11.5% respectively year over year. Corporate income tax, 34.2%. The share of property tax receipts among the 4 major tax revenue sources naturally changes with fluctuations in non-property tax collections. Non-property tax receipts include individual income, corporate income, and sales tax revenues. By nature, are much more sensitive to fluctuations in the business cycle and the accompanying changes to consumer spending affecting sales tax revenues and job availability affecting aggregate income. In contrast, property tax collections have proven reliably stable, reflecting the long-run stability of tangible property values as well as the effects of lagging assessments and annual adjustments. That's from the National Association of Home Builders. Well, it's 11:30. I got a lot to do. I gotta write a description. I gotta download the podcast. I gotta post it some other places. I think I'm gonna go. 45 minutes. I'll take it. I should be back tomorrow night. It'll be a big Friday show. We'll talk about something related to Friday. With that, I'm going to head on out. Thank you for watching tonight. If you have any questions or comments, put them in the chat. And if you can't put them in the chat because I won't be around, put them in the comment section, and I will look to answer them down the road. Thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow night.